It is finally here, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, a joyous celebration of retro fighting games, bundling 8 arcade classics from the late 90s and early 2000s in one polished package. Now that the collection is out, let's check out how well or bad it is. But before we do that, a gentle reminder to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you are notified whenever I drop a new video. Long-lost titles that were once stranded on aging hardware are finally making a comeback. The Capcom Fighting Collection 2 anthology spans both 2D and early 3D fighters, showcasing Capcom's experimental transition era and delivering a healthy dose of nostalgia. Even better, it's all wrapped up in modern features. So Capcom Fighting Collection's 2 game lineup is nothing short of legendary. Each title comes with its own distinct flavor, and the collection lightly curates them with brief descriptions and historical context. Here's a rundown of all the 8 games included, each a notable piece of Capcom's fighting history. First, we have Capcom vs SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro, a favorite of mine because, as you know, I am an SNK fan, hence the channel I have. So this game was a landmark crossover that first pitted Street Fighter and SNK characters against each other in a 2-on-2 bout. It features a unique ratio-based team system where you can build teams of 2 to 4 fighters depending on their strength, and 2 selectable fighting styles, or grooves as it's called. Each one is reminiscent of the games it represents. This Pro Edition adds extra fighters and balance tweaks, making it the definitive version of Capcom's first SNK crossover. It's a historic dream match that still feels satisfying to play, and seeing it finally rescued from arcade and Dreamcast and PlayStation 1 obscurity is a huge win for us fans. The second game, obviously, I've gotta talk about the SNK games first. It is Capcom vs SNK 2 Mark of the Millennium 2001. The crown jewel of the collection and SNK and Capcom's best or maybe second best crossover. Yes, I love Match of the Millennium on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. CVC2 expands the roster dramatically and introduces 6 distinct grooves, each based on different Capcom SNK fighting style, allowing for endless custom team combinations. This game remains one of the most beloved crossover fighters ever made, blending the best of both universes with tight mechanics and a massive cast. Having it back with online play and modern training tools is a dream come true for competitive players. In fact, CVS2 alone would justify the collection's existence, and its inclusion not only preserves a classic, but also rekindles hope that Capcom and SNK might notice the fan excitement and maybe, just maybe, collaborate on a brand new crossover. Well, one can dream. Capcom Fighting Evolution, a 2004 mashup featuring fighters drawn from multiple Capcom series, Street Fighter 2, 3, Alpha, Darkstalkers, and even the obscure Red Earth all collide in this kind of an odd game. I remember when it was first released back in the day and how it was not well received. But the fact that it's here is great, so new players can experience this weird fighting game. Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, an enhanced arcade edition of the beloved Street Fighter Alpha 3, released on the Sega Naomi hardware in 2001. Alpha 3 is known for its vibrant art style, 3-ism fighting modes, and huge roster, and Upper makes it even better. This version includes characters that were console exclusives back in the day, like Guile, T-Hawk, Fei Long, DJ, Evil Ryu, and even Shin Akuma, finally bringing them into the arcade roster. It also implements some bug fixes and balance updates. Project Justice, the sequel to Rival Schools, Capcom cult favorite high school fighting series, and like most fighters of its era, Project Justice uses 3D graphics. But don't let that fool you, it still plays much like a Capcom's 2D fighting game, or a tag game for that matter. In fact, it is fast-paced 3-on-3 team battles, assist attacks, and aerial raves feel reminiscent of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, just with a 3D twist. The game boasts a massive roster of colorful characters, along with flashy team-up super moves that bring all 3 characters on screen for combo attacks. This title was previously a Dreamcast gem that never saw a Western re-release. The Power Stone series, a pioneer in 3D arena fighting game that still feels fresh. Power Stone drops two fighters into a fully roaming 3D stages filled with weapons and interactive objects. Players can run, jump, climb, and throw items in these dynamic arenas, an experience closer to a mix of Super Smash Bros. And a 3D action game than a traditional fighter. The first Power Stone hasn't been readily available since a 2006 PSP collection, so having it playable with online is a gift to longtime fans of the series. Power Stone 2. If Power Stone was a blast, its sequel cranks the mayhem up to 11. The game expands the battles from 2 up to 4 players, introduces larger multi-level stages, and throws in a ton of new items. 4-player free-for-all or 2 versus 2 matches are pure chaotic fun. This is also the first re-release since the Power Stone collection on the PSP that came out in 2006. It's a joy to see these party fighting classics in the spotlight again. Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Blisstein. Rounding out the set is the deep cut from Capcom's vault. Plasma Sword, the sequel to Star Gladiator, is a 3D weapons-based fighting game with a sci-fi twist. Think of it as Capcom's answer to Toshinden. If you know what that game is, it was awesome in the first PlayStation. Featuring intergalactic warriors dueling with laser swords and bizarre weapons, that is Plasma Sword. It's fast and flashy for its time with spectacular special moves and genuinely wild character designs. It most likely will not become a competitive game, but as a fun curiosity, especially to break up the more serious fighters. As these games show, Capcom Fighting Collection 2 covers a lot of ground. It brings together two of the greatest 2D crossover fighters of all time in CVS 1 and 2, two wacky 3D arena fighters, Power Stone 1 and 2, a beloved Team Fighter sequel, Project Justice, and top-tier Street Fighter entry, Alpha 3 Upper, plus a pair of oddballs like Capcom Fighting Evolution and Plasma Sword. It fills many missing pieces that Capcom hadn't yet re-released up until this moment. Each game is emulated from the arcade version, where applicable, with love and accuracy. They are arcade perfect ports. Loading up each title, you'll find crisp sprites or polygons, authentic gameplay, and even region options to switch between Japanese or international versions. You can also view the arcade marquee of each title to see your character's special moves, a beautiful way for a command list that I hope every fighting game developer will do in the next fighting games. One of the biggest additions to these old games, however, is the robust online play. Every title in Capcom's Fighting Collection 2 supports online multiplayer, complete with ranked matchmaking, casual, friends match, and lobby play. Capcom implemented the beloved rollback netcode across the board, which means online matches feel extremely responsive. I've had time to try a few games and it feels great. Really runs smooth. The matchmaking options are nicely fleshed out. You can enable or disable cross-region matching to ensure better connections, and the game will try to pair you with players of similar skill for more balanced fights. You can play arcade mode as you wait for the game to match you up. There's also a fun high score challenge mode with online leaderboards, essentially letting you compete for top scores in single player modes. Perhaps best of all, the online interface lets you search for matches in multiple games at once, meaning you won't be stuck waiting too long even if one title's community is smaller. And I find this amazing. Beyond online play, Capcom Fighting Collection is packed with quality of life features that modernize these classics without changing their core gameplay. A flexible training mode is now available for every game in the set. You can set the dummy opponent behavior, reset positions, and even display hitboxes or frame data. One-button specials are another welcome option for people who do not know how to play fighting games. This is completely optional, and you can turn it off when looking for matches online. Combined with adjustable game speed and difficulty settings for each title's single-player mode, the collection does a great job catering to all skill levels. You can make arcade mode easier if you're just in it for the story or nostalgia, or crank the AI up to arcade hard if you want the challenge. Other handy features include the ability to save and load anywhere in single player mode. There are also EX settings unique to each game, which lets you toggle certain game-specific options and enhancements. For example, you can enable bonus content or balance changes that were in console versions, adjust round timers, or even choose between classic and graphic, which is the uncensored versions of the games. Capcom clearly poured a lot of thought into making these old games as configurable as possible. The controls are fully customizable, and you can choose various display filters from crisp pixel perfect to CRT scanline emulation to suit your visual preference. Capcom has a reputation for bundling great bonus content in their retro collections, and Fighting Collection 2 is no exception. The in-game museum is an absolute treasure trove for fans. It contains over 700 pieces of artwork across the 8 titles, including official illustrations, concept sketches, character designs, and even development documents that were previously unseen. Scrolling through the gallery is a delightful trip down memory lane. You can zoom in to see the fine details of Bingus's character art or read design notes that shed light on how these games were created. Then there's the music section, essentially a robust soundtrack player. Every game's complete soundtrack is included. That is over 300 music tracks in total, and you can listen to them at any time. The interface lets you sort by game and track, which makes it easy to find your favorite song. It is fantastic having all these arcade BGM tracks centralized. The audio quality is crystal clear, and you can even set favorites or make a playlist to jam to while you pursue the art gallery. The collection's presentation and these extras is very clean and user-friendly. Capcom truly knows these features are for the die-hard fans, and it treats the content with respect. There are also profile summaries for each title, giving context and release info. Even the main menu UI is slick, with a catchy remix medley of Capcom fighting tunes playing in the background as you navigate between games. Load times are virtually non-existent, and switching to a different title or jumping into training mode is instantaneous. All this contributes to an overall sense of quality. Capcom Fighting Collection 2 sets a new gold standard for retro fighting game compilations by bringing together sought-after classics like Capcom vs SNK and Power Stone and giving them the full modern treatment. Capcom has demonstrated a genuine love for its legacy content. For longtime fans, it is pure bliss to hop between CVS2 matches with rollback netcode, a few rounds of Alpha 3 Upper, and 4-player Frenzy in Power Stone, all in one sitting. Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is now available on pretty much every platform. Go get it!